Hey you all, I'm also hi to fellow dressmakers. You're welcome to another interesting tutorial. My name is Confidence. In this video, I'll be showing you how I was able to make this blouse. I'll be showing you the sewing process of this beautiful blouse on the right that I used to make the one on the left. And if you're interested in that, kindly watch to the end and let's get right into it. So these are the pieces that we cut out from the previous video. The previous video was all about the cutting of this blouse. And if you haven't seen that, do well to check it out so that this will make more sense to you. So this will be the sleeve. I have two pieces of that. Then this right here is the back piece. Yeah, back pieces because I have the lining there too. I have two pieces each and I'm using the same fabric as the lining. That is a matter of choice. Then this will be the under bust cutout. I'm using this velvet sequence for the design. Okay, I have the lining which I interfaced both the fashion fabric and the lining with paper stay. And this will be the peplum. Yeah, the flare. I have just 360-degree flare here which I interface with paper stay, both the lining and the fashion fabric. And this right here is the center front. I have two pieces of this. It's cotton fold and I interface both the fashion fabric and the lining with paper stay. I'm using same fabric as the lining, and this will be the side front, and I have four pieces of that. This right here will be for the collar. I have two pieces of this because I will be using the same fabric to turn it. This is collar, of course, and I interfaced with paper stay. One of them have two layers of paper stay, which is totally optional. I just cut excess of that paper stay, so I had to just gum it to it. And this right here, I'll be using it for the patchwork on the shoulder part. And this is the sleeve. I have two pieces of this. This is just a basic sleeve. There's nothing serious about it. Now we'll go ahead and start joining all of these pieces together. But before that, I'll use this center front and the side front to show you how I cut out the bustier part. So this is my wording which I just trimmed out, and I'm going to take the center front this way and place it this way. These two pieces, they both stop at the under bust, right? And I added extra ½ inch as the stitching allowance. So what I'll do here is to go up about 1 inch before the end of the fabric. I hope you understand that. So the wording will stop 1 inch before the end of this center front, both on the side front. Then I'll just go ahead and cut it just the same way you see me doing it. It's not even hard. This is just how I go about cutting my bustier. First, I don't let it get all the way to the armhole, and I don't also let it get in the way of the neckline sewing allowance. Then I'll cut the side this way, and I won't let it get to the armhole too. Then I'm going to trim the side just this way, and after trimming I'll notch this part just to help me know that that part will be going to the armhole and that part is the upper part. So by the time I place it on the fabric, you see what I have there, right? I'm going to use this one to trace out the other one, and make sure you're not tracing it in a way that you're just cutting out the same thing you already cut out. I hope that makes sense. There's a shiny part on this wording, so that shiny part, either you place it shiny part to the shiny part or you place it the other way around, but just make sure you do not cut the same thing twice. Then after all of that, the next thing I like to do is to fold the center front this way and trim it just to make it uniform on both sides. Then by the time I place it on, you can see what I have. So I'll just go ahead now and use iron to glue it, do the same thing for the side, and this is what it looks like. Can you see that? So the wording has been glued to the fabric, both on the center front and on the side front. Then I'll quickly trim off the excess I have on both sides. Then I'll go ahead and make it align on the under bust, like place the side on the center front this way, make it align. Then I'm going to go to my sewing machine and join it the same way I usually join my bustier. Do the same thing for the other side. And after that, I ironed it out neatly with the help of my bust ham. I did the same thing for the lining, and you can see how well cupped it is, both the main fabric and then the lining. So Basically, we did a good job. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to get the midpoint on the underbust this way. I'm going to hold it and get the midpoint. I'll do the same thing for the lining. Then I'll take the underbust cutout and do the same thing. Get the midpoint on both the lining and the fashion fabric. Then we'll proceed to the next process. So I'll place the underbust cutout this way. Then I'll take the overbust this way. Just match up the part where I notch as the midpoint, then I'm going to join it on both sides from one center to the other side and from center to the other side. And after that, I went ahead to press it. And for the fashion fabric, I pressed open the seam just like this. On the underbust, I pressed open the seam. Then on this other one, I pressed the stitching allowance going to the upper part, so you can decide which one you want to do. You can see that both of them gives a neat work afterwards. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to take the lining, place it on the fashion fabric this way. Then I'm going to just, you can decide to pin it down at this point. Then I'll just go ahead and sew just on the V part, okay, just the V part of the neckline. Do not sew the other side. Then I will sew the sides, but like I said, do not sew the neckline yet because the color will be going there. And after that, I went ahead to iron it out. You can see how neat and smooth it came out. Okay, I did the same thing for the side too. Sorry, I did the same thing for the back part too. I turned it and then I top stitched the lining and the fashion fabric together on the neckline, but not turn. I did not turn the neckline because, like I said, the color would be going there. The next thing I will quickly do now is to go ahead and place one side of the back on the center, on the front, right side facing right side, and I'm going to turn the shoulder. The same way you turn your shoulder, just go ahead and turn it just the same way. Then I'll stitch it on both sides to have something like this. Now I'm going to trim out this excess I'm seeing on the armhole part. I'll do the same thing for the other side. Then I'll take the sleeve and trim off a bit from the selvage because I don't want that to be part of the sleeve. Then I'm going to place it right side going to the right side, and then the midpoint of the sleeve going to the shoulder joining. That's midpoint to midpoint. And I'm going to join it on both sides to have something like this. At this point, you can decide to just go ahead and iron it out before the next step. So I'll go ahead and show you what I did because I thought I was recording when I did that. I marked in 1.5 from the center front. You can do 1 inch if you want. Then from the sleeve joining, I marked 4 inches and rolled it across. The next thing I'm going to do now is to cut a circle, and to do that, I will just fold this paper into 4. Like you want to cut a flare, that's basically it. So I folded it into 4, and if you're seeing the other paper, don't worry about that. I wanted to show you another method, but I think this one is more practical and easier, so we just go with this. This is, I'm measuring 6 inches all around. You can do more depending on what you measured on the part that you marked out. So either you measured it or not, you can do anything between 6 to 8 inches because I think that would work for any size. I need just 4 inches, but here I did 6 inches just to have it in excess. Then after cutting it out, I'm going to take back the blouse this way and spread it. I said you should iron it if you want it to make it more smooth and relax. So I'm going to place the paper that I cut out on it this way. Just watch what I'm doing. You do not even need me to explain too much about this part, but just make sure you get to the 4 inches you marked down, right? Then I'm going to pin it all down all around this way just to hold it in place. And the next thing I'm going to do is on the neckline. You can decide to first just trace the neckline out. Yeah, I cannot see the fabric, right? So I'm going to use my hand to like feel it. If I feel it, I will mark. That's why I say you can just like trace out the neckline because it will be easier. Then after that, you come down 1/2 inch from the tracing that you did. Okay, so I'll use my hand to feel it, then I'll mark. I'm just like coming down 1/2 inch from the neckline, right? 1/2 inch from the neckline. Then remember the center front to come in 1.5 or 1 inch. Then I'm going to mark this other part just like this. It's very simple. Once you cut out the circle this way, it will help you to mark it anyhow you want without any shortage. Then on the 4 inches, I mark from the sleeve down, right? From the shoulder down, I would just make sure I have that. Then I'm going to give it a slight curve on this end. And that's it though. So the next thing you can decide to do is to like label it, the part going to the front and the part going to the back, which I think is not even needed, except you forget like me. So just go ahead and like label it, the part going to the front, so that when you cut it out on the fabric, you won't have to struggle about indicating the part going to the front and the part going to the back. I hope that is clear enough. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and label mine just so I won't forget. And after that, I went ahead to transfer the pattern to the fabric to have something like this. I'll just go ahead and pin it down, go to my sewing machine and stitch it all around. If you don't want to do it like that, you can decide to fold it all around, like to have it neat, depending on the fabric you're using. But this fabric is not going to flare, so it's okay like that. I'll just go ahead and stitch it round. The next thing you can also decide to do is to pad this piece so that it will have weight on the shoulder, like it will not look just flat. But I didn't want to do that. You can use wadding. You can also um add the same thing you use for your shoulder padding, right? Then I'll go ahead and close the side with my measurement, and after that I'll quickly trim off the excess I have on the waistline. The velvet stretches, so this is actually expected. I'll go ahead and trim it all off to have something like this. Then I'm going to get the midpoint of this waistline, right? I'll go ahead and get my flare, get the midpoint too, and then I'll join it. For the flare, I just went ahead to turn it to, I didn't add any crinoline or any other stiff to it. I just turned it like that. You can decide to add crinoline if you want. What I'll just do is I'll go ahead and turn it, and then when I measured it, the flare is supposed to be excess because we cut it in a way that is it will be more than the waistline. The excess I have, I'm going to add just tiny pleats, right? Remember I pinned it down on the waistline, on the center front, on the midpoint. So I'm going to measure it, match it up on the center back. Then the excess I have when I measured it, I'm going to add just tiny plates, not even reasonable plates. And after that, this is what it looks like. Can you see that? So it's not even just like gathers. But if you want, you can add plates. But I'm going for what just tiny plates like this. Next thing I'm going to do is to get the midpoint of this sleeve, right? I'll do the same thing for this other side. Then I'll bring in the flare part of the sleeve, which I already turned. Can you see that? You just use lining to turn it. Then I'm going to just hold it this way and get the midpoint. Just notch this part and that would serve as the midpoint. Since I didn't cut the sleeve open, then I'm going to pin it down. The part that I notched on the flare part and the part I notched on the sleeve, I will align that part. Then I'm going to slide my hand into the sleeve this way to bring in the flare just like this. Can you see? This way the flare is invisible. It will be easier for you to join it that way. Then you can decide to go ahead and pin it all around, but I'll just go ahead and stitch it all around. If there's excess, I'll just add tiny plates. And this is what it looks like after that. Can you see that? The next thing we'll work on now is the collar. I realized I didn't cut out this flare right after I have exhausted the fabric. So I'll just go ahead and manage it like this. You can follow the same process. If you have watched the cutting video, you will know what you will do right? So I'll just go ahead and measure the neckline all around, and then I will measure what I have here just to be sure that I'm on the safe side and I have excess. So what I'll do now is to go ahead and stitch it on the smaller part of the circle, like the radius, and after that I will use the hot iron to fold one part of it just to have something like this. Can you see that? Now I'm going to um open it. This is like the midpoint. I'll open it because there's two opening on the neckline, right? The opening on the front and then the center back. So you should have something like this. Then I'm going to fold it just the same way you see me and go ahead and stitch it on both on the two parts, right? After that, I'll go ahead and take one of them. You're going to place it this same way. You see the part that you folded, that's not the part, just the part that is not folded. You're going to place it right side on the neckline, and then you're going to join it. Make sure the joining on both the collar and the neckline part that they are aligning. That's the center front. Just make sure that you place the collar right, then you're going to stitch it all the way to the center back. I'll do the same thing for the other side, and after that, this is what it looks like. Can you see that? So I'm going now to make sure I put in this stitching allowance I have from the previous joining, right? I'll put it into the collar this way. You can decide to pin it down if you want, but I'll go to my sewing machine and stitch just in between the stitches, right? This joining that you're seeing here, in between that, I'm going to stitch there. It's called stitch in a ditch. I'll do the same thing for the other side, and after that, this is how neat it came out. I just didn't cut this right, but it came out so well. If I had cut it right, this is just how to go about the collar. The last thing I'll do now is to go ahead and fix the zipper with the zipper allowance. Then let's talk about the sleeve that came with the reference style, right? It's flare sleeve, but it's just high and low. So I'm going to show you how to cut it in case you want to go for that style. I'm going to fold this paper like I want to cut a full circle. You're going to fold it into four. And after folding, I want to cut a real sleeve, but I noticed that this paper will not be enough. So I'm going to extend it, join another paper to it, just like this. Can you see? I joined another paper to it. Then I'm going to fold it into four, like I want to cut a circle. It's still not enough, but I'll show you what you should have if you have enough paper or fabric, right? You can cut this directly on your fabric anyway. Then what I'm doing here is marking 1.5, and that would be the round sleeve. Make sure that whatever you're marking here is up to your round sleeve. If you want to add excess, like you want to have pleats, you can add to it. But here I was going back and forth. First I marked 1.5, and I noticed that it was not up to the round sleeve that I should have, and I marked 2, and I noticed that it's now excess. So I marked in between the line and it gave me what I wanted. But instead of going back and forth like me, you're simply going to divide your round sleeve by 6.28. Then whatever it gives you, you're going to mark it all around, and that would be the radius. Then here I'm marking whatever I have on the pattern as the full length of the flare, which is about 16.5. So I'm going to mark it all the way to the other end, and that would be the length. But if you're doing this for you, you should do anything between 24 to 30. In fact, 24 and above, depending on how long you want it. Then for the shorter parts, I'll just mark 6.5. Yours should be 8 inches, depending on how long you want it to, but it should not be less than 8 inches, okay, if you want what is on the thumbnail. So I'll mark that. I'll be blending it in after cutting out the whole circle. So I'll take my scissors now and cut off this part. Then I'll show you how to go about the shorter part. Just high and low flare, it's nothing serious, okay. So now I'll blend it in. The blending should be smooth, but to work on that later. So you should have something like this by the time you're done. Then let me show you how to go about the joining. So I'll do like I cut out a sleeve, just a basic sleeve, the same way you cut out your basic sleeve, and the length of this basic sleeve should be on your elbow length. That's the length of this basic sleeve, okay. Then I'll get the midpoint. I'll get the midpoint of this down part too, and then the center part, the center part of the sleeve should be going to the shorter part of the flare, while this other longer part would be going to the armhole part of the sleeve. That's the part that you'll be joining, right? So it's very simple. is simply going to be this way. The shorter part going to the folded part of the sleeve, and then the longer part going to the armhole part of the sleeve. But you should close the sleeve first before joining the flare to it, or just follow the same process. The same process we used to join the sleeve on the blouse, right? Just go ahead and do the same thing. The only thing is that the shorter part will be going to the center front, yeah, the center of the sleeve, while the longer part should be going to the part that will be closing the sleeve with your measurement width. So the wider the person's round sleeve is, the more it will be easier for you to join this. And that's basically it about the sleeve. So I'll simply go ahead and trim this until I'm satisfied, until it's very smooth on this point. And you should do the same thing before even turning with the lining. Then another good thing, another important thing is that you should not use ordinary lining to turn this. You should use something that can serve as a fabric, because it will be visible to people. And this will be the end of what tutorial today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you on my next one. Be good. Bye.